Hey guys, this is Doug with Liberty Disaster Relief, fellowshipofthemartyrs.com. I'm in the van headed out over to a pawn shop in the next town over to try and buy a generator. We've got to turn the air conditioning down a little bit. It's about 90-some degrees here. It's really hot in Kansas City, but it's a beautiful day. The thing is, we pick up from all these grocery stores. When it gets to be a certain temperature out, they don't trust that we can keep the food a reasonable temperature at the distance we have to drive back to the shop, because we pick up from 2 different grocery stores in Gladstone and then come back, and it might take, from the time we pick up the first food, let's say we got sushi or milk, and we pick it up at the first store, then we go to the second store, load everything up, and come back, you're talking about it being in the van for an hour. So even if we left the air conditioning running full blast, you can only get the van down to about 75 degrees, 80 degrees, and you really need to keep it 50 to 60 degrees for transport for that kind of length of time, to make sure that you don't start to have bacterial growth. I mean, ideally it'd be at 40 degrees, but a lot of the trucks and stuff like that, they can be set at 50, 55, and you're okay. If it's not going to be in there for really extended period of time, it's not going to cool off too much. Just like you don't have to have your freezer at 0 to maintain stuff that's already hard frozen. You can have it at like 13, 15 degrees, and you still be okay if it was hard frozen at 0 before. Anyway, so what we got, this little covered trailer, this little enclosed trailer that was donated, and it's just maybe 4 foot by 8 foot or 5 by 9 or something like that. And what we're going to do, rather than try to, we thought about putting an RV air conditioner on top of the van and then putting a wall behind the driver and passenger seats and insulating it so that the whole van would be refrigerated. The problem there is, if I get a flat tire or an engine problem in this van and it's the only refrigerated one, then I'm gonna have to show up with the other van and it's not refrigerated. And we get enough stuff that we can't just use coolers and ice packs or something like that. We really need a refrigerated vehicle. So we got this little trailer, and it makes a lot of sense to refrigerate the trailer, because that's about the space that we would probably not go over that amount of space, and it allows us to hook it behind any vehicle. So even if we had to if we had to take a minivan and hook it on the minivan, or hook it on somebody's passenger car or something, anything could tow that little trailer, and we could at least go use that. And even if we had to make 2 trips, or that was all we had, at least we've got a refrigerated vehicle, so we don't have to give up picking up dairy, eggs, deli, meat, all of that kind of stuff. Basically, last summer, all we got was produce and boxed meals and canned goods, stuff that didn't matter if it got warm. And even the produce, I mean, it lasts a lot longer if we can keep it chilled. So we try to refrigerate strawberries and grapes and all that kind of stuff. If we get them on a Wednesday and the food giveaway is on a Thursday, if we have refrigerator space, we try to get them in the refrigerator, even though they're going to be in the air conditioning in the Garrison Center. They usually keep okay, but as it gets really hot in the summer, it's harder and harder to do that. So people have asked, how do I set this up in my town? How do I get one of these things going? I can't speak to any other country, to the legalities or whatever, but in the United States, we have a federal Good Samaritan Act. I forget the exact name of it. It was Bill Emerson. I think it's Bill Emerson, Good Samaritan Act. It was passed under the Clinton administration. It's definitely the Emerson. I don't remember Bill. I think it's Bill. Anyway, the Emerson Good Samaritan Act that was passed because part of it was that if somebody got hurt on the side of the road, doctors and nurses were not stopping to help because they would get sued for malpractice. And even though they were volunteering, even though they were emergency responders, if they did something not quite right, or they didn't have the right equipment or whatever, they'd get sued, and that's just wrong. So we it's rare to watch a video of mine without my phone ringing. I just want you to know. Anyway, But also included in the Good Samaritan Act, it says that gleaners, which is what we do, and the Bible talks about gleaning, that farmers were commanded to leave the edges of their field, the corners of their field. They were to, their field was a square, but they were to harvest in a circle and leave the corners unharvested for the poor. And the poor didn't just get to sit at home on food stamps and order a pizza or whatever. They had to go out to the field, but it was there for them to pick and feed their families. Also, Hebrew law was such that if you were walking along, if you were traveling and you walked through somebody's field and you want to eat an apple or some grain or whatever, like the disciples were popping grain off of heads and eating them as they were walking along, that's perfectly legal. You're not stealing. Now, if you take a basket or if you hold your shirt out and start filling it with apples, now you're stealing. But if it's the edges of the field where they have specifically left it, then that's for the poor, and anybody is welcome to come get that if they need it. It also said not to go over the field twice. When you harvested, you would pick a day. You think, okay, today's the day. We're going to get all the family and all the workers out, and we're going to harvest all the grapes. But then a week later, grapes that you didn't pick because they weren't ripe become ripe. You don't go over the vines again. You don't go and harvest it again. You leave it. And the poor can come get what they want. Anyway, that's called gleaning, and that's what we do. We go to the grocery stores and we get whatever is too ripe or not ripe enough or is past its date, or for whatever reason they've passed it over. And so the grocery stores are doing something entirely biblical, and American society and law allows for that. And anyway, the Good Samaritan Act says that gleaners and the people that donate the food cannot be held responsible, cannot be held liable if something happens. If it's in otherwise reasonably good condition, that doesn't mean that it's within its date. That means that it's not disgustingly covered with mold or something like that. But if it's reasonable, and you haven't maliciously, intentionally tampered with it and like poured bleach on it or put razor blades in it or something like that. But as long as you haven't maliciously, intentionally tried to hurt somebody, then you can't be held liable. So the football stadiums that donate the leftover nachos and there's all kinds of places that you could go to talk to, music venues, restaurants, grocery stores, snack bars at the community baseball stadium and anything like that where they have leftovers. You can contact them and ask them to donate that. And if they say that they're concerned about liability, you can show them the Good Samaritan Act. There's also a nice package on the National Restaurant Association's page about harvesting food and why you should do it and the tax credits you get for it. The good thing is they get 50% state and 50% federal tax credit off the retail value, okay, not wholesale. So if your food cost on that watermelon is 50 cents and you sell it for $1, you actually cost you 50 cents. But your sale would have been for $1. And if you donate it to us, you get to write off of your taxes 50% federal, 50% state to the amount of the retail value of whatever you donated. So the grocery stores scan everything just like you were at the checkout and then zero it out as a donation, but they have the total of what the value of everything that they donated that day was. Typically, most days, if I went, I don't get a copy of it and pay much attention, but typically most days we're picking up somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 worth of retail value of food. Okay, which, the produce especially is really high. I mean, a little teeny thing of raspberries is $6. Milk is $4 a gallon, stuff like that. I mean, we must have picked up 150 gallons of milk today, something like that, in quarts and pints and half gallons and gallons and everything else. Anyway, so I think last year the retailers that donating to us got about a $2 million tax credit. So we calculate that in terms of the size that we are, even though Liberty Disaster Relief doesn't get that much cash for operating costs for the rental of the units and the Garrison Center and the vans and everything else, we're somewhere, my budget for everything is somewhere around $8,000 a month. Okay, so we house anywhere between 35 and 60 people. We're getting 2 more townhouses that won't be Liberty Disaster Relief responsibility, because other families are moving here and they're going to rent their own townhouses. But we're going to expand to 6 townhouses. We on $100,000 a year, $8,000 a month, $100,000 a year, $96,000 a year. We're talking about feeding 5,000 people a month and housing 40 or more. Okay, there's families of 5 can't survive on $100,000 a year. Okay, this is just God. It's just got to be God, because we stretch a dollar better than anybody I know. There's no buying jet planes and Bentleys and whatever. And if somebody wanted to give me $1 million, we would just do a lot more of what we're doing and still be penny pinching and looking for the Lord to help us save money everywhere we can, because there's a lot that needs to be done. And I think that we're a really, really good place to invest your money. If you have come out of church and you're not tithing anymore someplace, and I got videos about the tithe, and I think God said to surrender all, not surrender some, and not 10%, whatever. But if you feel like you want to invest in God's kingdom somewhere, I think this is a really good investment. I mean, I really do, because we're doing a lot. We're touching a lot of lives. We got people driving in for deliverance from all over the country. We just picked up a young man from London that flew in to stay with us for 5 weeks. We've got people here from all over, and I'm constantly on the phone and emails and text messages and whatever with people from all over, and really seeing God move hearts. Plus 5,000 people we're feeding a month, and people that would be out on the street otherwise if we hadn't taken them in, and for not much cash. I think we're a real good investment as far as that goes. And if you want to help, you can contact us through the website or PayPal to help@libertydisasterrelief.com or FOTM@fellowshipwithmartyrs.com. But as far as setting up your own pantry someplace, we can help with that too. If you are not a 501c3 charitable organization, but you want to be tax-deductible organization, that's the main thing. The grocery stores want to get the tax credit, which means they're not going to give it to you as an individual. They need to give it to a charity. And some of them you may have run into trouble, because as food supplies get more scarce, a lot of the national food banks and local charities may have already approached all the grocery stores, and they're already giving the stuff away, which is fine. Then you find who they're giving it to and go volunteer there and participate with them. The main thing is to keep it from going in the landfill when it could be, reaching people and piggybacked with the gospel. So people pay a lot more attention to what you're saying about God when you're handing them free food. I mean, it works way better than just passing a plate under their nose and expecting them to give so that you can tell them about Jesus. So anyway, I'll put some links here on the video somewhere, but in case you watch this video on Facebook or somewhere else and the links aren't right there, you can just do a search for the Emerson Good Samaritan Act and print that off and show that to folks that they're not liable. There is no liability risk to them. Anybody can be sued, but that doesn't mean anybody's going to win, because as long as they didn't intentionally tamper with it, they're free of liability. And you're free of liability, so you don't need to have some liability insurance policy or something else like that as a gleaner, because the Good Samaritan Act covers you as well. So you may have to coordinate with your local health department as far as storage and handling and stuff like that, but that's pretty easy. They just want to know that your refrigerators are at the right temperature, and that you're not keeping food on the floor, that you have some kind of insect control program in place and stuff like that. But that's going to vary county by county, so I can't speak to exactly what you should expect there. Some places, if it's free and you're not charging for it, they leave you completely alone. Some places, it's still food handling, and you're still going to need to have a place that's been inspected, and you have a food license, food handler's license for the facility. Now, if you're not cooking the food, you're not partitioning it up and cooking it, and you're not like a soup kitchen, then you don't need to have food handlers licenses for each individual and hairnets and gloves and everything else, because it's all prepackaged stuff, or it's produce, which doesn't need to be any particular procedures as far as handling produce. People should take it home and wash it and all of that. Anyway, so if you are not a 501c3 or a charity or a church, and you want to do this in your town, we are willing to extend the Church of Liberty out over your town and start a Liberty Disaster Relief, or whatever you want to call it. But it would help if you call it Liberty Disaster Relief, or that you're partnering with Liberty Disaster Relief, because then you can go to the grocery stores and say you're part of a network that gave away over £1 million last year, is operating in multiple cities, and has some clout, and has been doing this for 5 or 6 years. So even though you're a brand new startup, you're essentially a franchise of a larger thing, and so you can have some more credibility behind you, and we can help. Now, down the road, I'd like to have an insurance policy that would cover all of the little branches and all of the places and grocery stores we're picking up from, so that if you do have a retailer that doesn't get the Good Samaritan Act and doesn't whatever, just is concerned about them being sued, then we have a policy that would name them as an also insured, and would go to court, cover the legal costs if they were to be sued, and that would cover us and cover them, and that should answer that question and settle it, so that they should start giving you stuff. In our case, we have the larger harvesters organization here in town, which is 500 different agencies that get food from them, and they're kind of the warehouse where the agencies are like the retail arm. And I can't go to Walmart or Target and get them to talk to me, because those decisions are made high up at a corporate level, and they've decided they want to give everything to harvesters, and then harvesters gives it out to me and to other agencies. But I can go to the little mom and pop grocery stores and the little local restaurants and the whatevers and say, hey, how about this, the little Mexican market, and so we end up kind of picking up the crumbs, where it's just not worth it to harvesters to send an 18-wheeler out to get 20 pounds of potatoes from the little Mexican market in Liberty, 20 minutes away from their warehouse. It's just not worth it to pick up 2 bags of stuff at Long John Silver's or something. And where we're right here, it's our town, we can keep it in town, and it's no big deal for us to send a team out with the van to pick up 1 little box of cupcakes at the bakery. And when you start adding that stuff up, it accumulates pretty fast, to where that amount of food ends up being 2,000-3,000 pounds, and making a big difference. So as harvester supplies have gone down, ours have been going up exponentially, because we're gleaning the little teeny fields instead of just the great big fields where the corners of the field would have lots and lots of food. So, for example, and we haven't really had the manpower, the vehicles, and whatever to really go talk to farmers in Liberty and around Clay County, where we could go and harvest a week behind them after they harvest. And we did get 3 or 4 pickup loads of corn last year from a farm, and we've had offers to come pick apples off of people's personal trees and stuff like that were in full, healthy, wonderful apples, and we just didn't have the manpower to do it. But that's the kind of stuff we could do a lot more of, and capitalize on all of the resources in the county, as well as one of the things I call the video stores and see about getting the empty video boxes. When they shred the DVDs, the DVD cases are still available, and we just pull the Buffy the Vampire Slayer paperwork out and put in one of our DVDs and give them away. And then the only cost I have is the cost of the DVD and the case and the cover and everything we can just do by recycling something that was going to be in a dumpster otherwise. So we're always looking for that kind of stuff. We got boxes of computer paper that was perforated with the little cogs down the thing on printers that nobody uses anymore. And we just tear the thingies off and use them for copy paper, because it was free and it's more work, but otherwise it'd be in the trash. So a lot of opportunities for stuff like that. But if you are interested in starting something in your town, contact me and let's see if we can't, set you up as a Church of Liberty, South, College Station, or Church of Liberty, Springfield, Ohio, or Church of Liberty, whatever, simply for the purposes of reaching the grocery stores, not because we're trying to create a pyramid or some popish organizational structure where you got to do what we tell you to do or anything like that, but simply for the purposes of relating to Caesar and the way Caesar does things. Because we're a church, and this is the helping arm of the church, we can have mission projects all over the country or all over the world that are part of what this church does, and the outreach of this church, and the impact that this church has all over the place, and operate them all under that. And the church is not a 501c3 corporation. The church is an unregistered, non-taxable church according to the IRS. So there's no reporting requirements as far as that kind of stuff goes. And we have every legal right to give people a tax credit on whatever they want to donate. So, and we have other parts, like Hope Outreach with Brian, and that are not a church. They are a true charity that has requested permission to be a 501c3 corporation, and donations could also be processed through them as well. So anyway, just the main thing is, let's just get out there and take care of folks, and by whatever means we have to, and make sure that we do the very best we can to live within the letter of the law. But ultimately, we need to do something to help meet needs wherever we can. So I hope that helps. I'll put up some more information as we go along as a tutorial for folks that are interested in maybe starting something in their town. You should expect it's going to be a lot of work. You should expect that you're going to need other volunteers, and that it's going to cost you personally. There's no money to be made in it. There's no getting rich on running a food pantry. But anyway, there you have it. That's all for now. I'm over at the pawn shop. I'll let you know how this project goes. Appreciate some folks that have donated to help with the new van, and I may divert some of that money to this project where you need a couple $100 to get this refrigerated trailer, or else we're not going to be able to pick up thousands and thousands of dollars of food every day. So we've got a van, looks like is going to be donated, but it needs an oil pump, and that's going to cost us some money because you got to hoist the engine up and who knows what. So I've been sitting on some money that folks sent to help with a new van, and I'm excited about a van, a good van that's going to be donated, but it's got an engine problem that we're going to have to address, and but should be a really good, strong running, reliable van with a great big honking bad gas mileage motor. But whatever. Okay, that's all for now. Thanks for listening. More at fellowshipofthemartyrs.com. Again, if you want to PayPal and participate in what we're doing here, even $5 or $10 or whatever, just I believe the Lord will bless it and multiply it, and I believe this is good ground to sow a seed into. I know that stuff's real. I know it's abused by the prosperity guys. I'm not promising you a Cadillac or a new Mercedes, or God's going to pay you back 1,000-fold or anything. But I do believe that He blesses His people when they participate with the work that He's doing. And I do believe that we're supposed to help make sure that there's meat in the storehouse. And I think that means meat. I don't think that means cash or a new Mercedes or a Harley. I think that means meat. And that's what we're doing. So if you got something you want to give, we'll spend it on meat and make sure that that when they come to the storehouse, there'll be something for them to eat. Anyway, thanks for listening. God bless you. More later. Bye.